And now, Eyewitness News NightBEAT.
Good evening. Strong reaction coming in tonight on a story you first saw on 3, affecting hundreds of Connecticut families.
These families dealing with a nursing home crisis after learning that the places their loved ones lived in have not paid their taxes. NightBEAT reporter Dennis House has been listening to the people's fears tonight. He's now live in Hartford's West End with a story. Dennis, what can you tell us?
Yeah, good evening. Well, putting a person in a nursing home is never an easy decision, but you should never have to worry about the place staying open or not. Now, this place behind me, Chelsea Place, has about 200 people inside. It is owned by a company that also owns another nursing home in Hartford, and combined, that company owes the city of Hartford more than $500,000 in back taxes. Now, we weren't allowed to go inside to talk with any of the patients tonight, but one came outside to tell her story to Eyewitness News.
Kelly Kalesa has cerebral palsy and uses a wheelchair to get around the nursing home where she lives in Hartford's West End. The 18-year-old woman spent time in foster care and says if Chelsea Place is sold, she could be homeless.
I have nowhere to live. We have a census of approximately 214 residents who also have nowhere else to go. And they're essentially asking us to live on the street.
Chelsea Place, along with Trinity Hill Nursing Home in Hartford, are way behind in their taxes. The Ohio company that owns the homes won't pay.
What's more alarming for me is that the amount of money that's involved and the kind of no response that we're getting.
Trinity Hill owes more than $281,000 in taxes. Chelsea Place owes more than $376,000.
You wonder why they haven't paid the taxes?
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they're hiding anything.
The company says it cannot afford to pay the taxes because it has a large number of poor patients who are supported by the state.
The state gives nursing homes $162 per day per patient for every patient who cannot pay his or her own way. Now, there are about 450 beds combined here at Chelsea Place and Trinity Hill, and so that means over a year period, the company brings in about $20 to $25 million from the state alone. The company says still not enough.
There are upscale, well-off nursing homes, and there are poor, more difficult to run nursing homes. We're in the latter category in the city.
But the city wants the money and will auction off the building.
The staff are scared. They don't want to lose their jobs. This is their livelihood. This is their paycheck.
And some of those workers are leaving right now for shift change. Now, we should know more about the future of both nursing homes in the next couple of weeks because the city wants the money by June 12th. If the back taxes are not paid by then, the city plans to auction off both nursing homes. Gayle, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Healthcare workers at 3 nursing homes in New Haven, Waterbury, and Cheshire plan to strike tomorrow to protest the wages. The strikes are expected to last 1 day, and 275 nurses, aides, and housekeepers also plan to take part. Eyewitness News will have continuing coverage of the strikes. We'll report on the nursing home crisis throughout the day tomorrow.
2 Connecticut prison guards taken to the hospital after being attacked by an inmate with a piece of plastic during dinner tonight at the Northern Correctional Institution in Somers. One correction officer cut on the neck, the other on his shoulder, chest, and stomach. Their names are not being released, but authorities say they should be okay. A deadly chase tonight. A woman killed right in front of her own home and her sister injured. The result of a high-speed police pursuit. Tonight's incident starting in Trumbull and ending in Bridgeport. And that's where NightBEAT reporter Susan Raff now joins us live. Susan?
Al, Tammy Cheatham is in critical condition tonight at St. Vincent's Medical Center. Her older sister was killed. The women are victims of a high-speed chase. And tonight, many want to know why police were chasing a car in a residential neighborhood.
It was just like a big boom. Like a real big boom, and all the cops and stuff started coming down here, and then it was just crazy. It was very crazy.
At 5 o'clock tonight, Soraya Patton and lots of other people who live in the Trumbull Garden Apartments heard the crash. Trumbull police were chasing a car through their neighborhood. Residents say both cars were going very fast.
They knew that this was a residential area where all the kids be at, so that was bad.
Cynthia Cheatham was driving this car. She had just picked up her sister, and they were pulling out of a driveway when a speeding car hit them head-on.
It looked like her body was split open right here, but it was split open right here. It was very sad. It was real sad. She was crumbled up in a ball, so, it took them like an hour to get her out.
The 38-year-old mother of 3 young children died instantly. Her younger sister, Tammy, was taken to the hospital. The chase started in Trumbull. Who was being chased and why, police aren't saying. The family of Cynthia Cheatham feels that whatever the reason was, police should have stopped. Diane Rogers says if they did, her cousin would still be alive.
Yeah, let go their ego. Sometimes it's not worth the chase. Here you have an innocent mother of 3 children dead now, plus her possible sisters.
Now, we are still waiting to hear from police exactly what happened here tonight. As for the Cheatham family, they are certainly looking for some answers. Now back to you in the studio.
Susan Raff, live in Bridgeport tonight.
The fallout from the fierce flooding of the Red River now includes charges of fraud. This is a scene in one of the hardest hit parts. This is Grand Forks, North Dakota. But across the river in Minnesota, authorities have arrested a woman on suspicion of making a fraudulent application for flood relief. The woman reportedly got relief vouchers for clothing, food, and other items while posing as a flood victim. And in Canada, another 8,000 people have been ordered to evacuate the Red River Valley there. Floodwaters broke through a dike and submerged a small town 20 miles south of Winnipeg that had already been evacuated. Well, it's time now to take a look at our own weather. Hilton Kaderli joins us now for your first look at the forecast on the Night Beat. Hilton?
Gayle will have some partial cloudiness sweeping over southern New England tonight, so for the rest of the night, let's call it seasonable. Lows in the 40s with partly cloudy skies. When you wake up in the morning, mostly clear, near 50. Tomorrow morning when you get up, and as the day progresses, by midday near 70. Tomorrow evening, comfortable 60s and 50s. That, in a nutshell, is what you can expect in the immediate future. We'll have the full, complete forecast, including the 5-day planner, just a few minutes. But wasn't today something?
It sure was, Hilton, and this is really something. Some sad news. The Chicago Tribune says its Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Mike Royko has died at the age of 64. For decades, Royko put the thoughts of working-class Chicago into its newspapers. His column also was syndicated nationally. Royko suffered a brain aneurysm at his home a week ago, and he'd been in critical condition ever since. Also making news around America tonight, that confrontation with a militant separatist group in Texas, where authorities have now brought in some extra hardware in case things turn sour. Some armored personnel carriers. For now, the atmosphere is described as cooperative. The standoff began Sunday when group members took 2 neighbors hostage, but then released them yesterday in exchange for a jailed comrade who had been arrested earlier on weapons charges.
Damaging testimony at the Oklahoma City bombing trial. A star witness says that defendant Timothy McVeigh told her about his plans to bomb the Murrah Federal Building months before it happened. Lori Fortier says McVeigh, who was a friend of her husband's, often discussed his anger at the federal government. Prosecutors say that McVeigh bombed the federal building in retaliation for the siege at Waco.
Hotel guests in Florida are stunned when a man plunges nearly 40 feet from a balcony, slamming head first into the atrium floor. The 48-year-old man survives, but he suffers a severe skull fracture as well as a broken arm and leg. It's still not clear whether he jumped or fell, although police say they did find no suicide note.
A Nobel Prize-winning scientist is sent to prison. Dr. Daniel Gdansk was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison for sexually abusing a 15-year-old boy he brought back from a research trip in 1987. The 73-year-old doctor, who studied so-called slow viruses that lie dormant before attacking the body, today's sentence was part of a plea bargain agreement.
3 female employees of a Long Island brokerage firm are suing the company for, get this, $1 billion, claiming they had to work in what they call a cesspool of lewd behavior. The 3 workers who were fired say they had been subjected to crude sexual insults as well as strip shows, and they claim they were promised better jobs in exchange for sexual favors. The company denies the allegation.
This may sound like a case of bad business. More than 100 Hartford hotel rooms have been vacant for almost 3 years, and the owners are saying they don't want to sell. This even though Mayor Mike Peters is pushing for it. NightBEAT reporter Tracy Martinez talked to both sides today. She is live at the hotel now with more on this story. Tracy?
Gail, there's already a handful of hotels in downtown Hartford, so you might think that another one just wouldn't survive. But the owners of the Constitution Plaza Hotel, formerly the Clarion Hotel, they don't agree. And they don't want to sell the hotel because they think once they do reopen, that business will be booming. Sammy Davis Jr. slept here, so have former Presidents Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford. But that was years ago. Nobody has stayed in this room or in this hotel for a while.
This is the lobby area, a front desk, and business executive offices in the back.
To many, it's still the old Clarion Hotel, but in 1995, it was sold and bought by a company called MSVS, owned by the Maharishi School of Vedic Sciences, a school teaching healthy living and transcendental meditation. They renamed the hotel the Constitution Plaza, had huge plans for it, but have yet to reopen for business.
To open this building, we need to procure the finances here on the virtue of this building.
They also need to settle an outstanding tax balance. Recently, the city received a check for $739,000.91 sent by the Maharishi, who narrowly avoided a bank foreclosure. But the company does still owe about $42,000 in back taxes, although they are appealing. In the meantime, leading city officials have lost their patience.
They've had it for a couple of years now. They've done nothing with the property. It's become an eyesore. We know it's up for sale. It's part of a package. We have some interested buyers that are looking very seriously at it, and I'm hopeful that somebody will buy it and do what needs to be done with that building.
We were given a brief tour of the building, but shown only one floor in relatively good condition. The owner representative won't tell us how much it would take to reopen the hotel and pay off debts, but says it's still his company's top priority. Mayor Peter agrees that another hotel could survive here in Hartford. Right now, area hotels are at about an 85% occupancy rate. 3 prospective buyers are interested in purchasing the hotel, but say the $8 million price tag is just too much. Gayle?
All right, Tracy Martinez reporting live. You used to love to go to that hotel.
Yes, great
Like to
food,
see
a great place to be. We'll see what happens. If you travel a lot, I'm sure this has crossed your mind at least once or twice. You're driving along a highway with a truck in front of you, and if there's an accident, would your car slide underneath the truck? Some disturbing findings in a special report we call Under the Wheel.
Also see how a man gets caught up in a health crisis at the salad bar.
And a mother's obsessive love for her son. Coming up, the actual story behind tonight's CBS movie here on Channel 3. We're coming right back.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News. This is Connecticut's news station.